Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about My Gift, level 9,999, unlimited Gacha, season 1, episode 6. Great episode, a lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we have the opening, which gives us a little bit of levity in what is kind of like a depressing and heartbreaking episode. Not as depressing as it could have been, but I'll get to that soon enough. I love that Nimumu is making a point of, dark should be level, he should be ranked like higher than that. Once again, the whole SEX, and it's just gold being like, she still doesn't recognize how much of a pervert that makes you out to be, but it's because he recently went from like, F to D, and it's like, he has, like, I guess because it's been such a short amount of time, there's only so much he can go up rank-wise, but it's like, if he does another big feat, it could help them go up, and that's when they learn about the adventure killer, and that's been, something that the humans are being warned about. And just as they're discovering about this is when a portal opens up and Mia comes through, and it's kind of like, things kind of played out a little bit like I thought they would. In the regards of, I was like, in fact, she's the only survivor. I figured it was going to be either she was going to be the only survivor or maybe like her brother was. But the fact is she was the one here. I'm like, everyone else is dead, aren't they? So Light heals her and then reads her memories to find out what happened. And, they had just gotten a warning about like a human hunter out there, an adventure hunter. And they were trying to leave the dungeon. They were already exhausted they were already in the middle of adventuring at the time, and now they have to like spend that time like nonstop running, and lo and behold, of course they're going to end up running into Kaito and his people. And so Mia's brother Wordy and Girmar, the other guy, all stop to defend Mia, and they're telling her to run, but obviously she's terrified, and they stand no chance against Kaito with all the abilities he has. He's too strong, he's too high leveled for them, and they get taken down pretty easy. But Gimar and Wordy immediately get up, and they're like, right, we'll defend Mia, and they both get struck down, which the dark elf who like does all the experiments, who's the very Victor Frankenstein-esque character, he was like, once again, his disgustingness of, he's just like, oh my god, you're killing more test subjects and stuff like that, because he'd already put the other two down. It's like he wanted all the boys as well, but it's like, well, at the very least Mia was a good enough test subject being a mage. But her brother wasn't going to take that lying down, and so he gets up. Especially because I was nervous as hell, because I was like, well, this is a dark series, so I'm like, don't let it go as dark as it could be. Especially because what was about to kind of happen, where he was saying like, oh, I'm going to use you for pleasure. I was like, oh god, please don't let this happen. I don't need to. Not even like, I doubt this would be the type of series that shows that. But even just not even showing, like, I don't even need to even had that in my mind that it happened, and like, please don't do that. I've had an anime I was watching recently with a storyline similarly enough, and knowing that stuff did happen for years, just kind of, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it again. Interesting, not even interesting, and sadly enough, it's just like, if it went down that route, I was like, this would have even made me. I don't know. I'm not even going to just finish the thought. I was just like, I was going to be super bummed out. It's already depressing enough. I'm like, I don't need you to go gut-wrenching depressing at this point. But her brother stands up and he challenges Kaito. And he uses the lesson he learned from Gold last episode and landed a blow on Kaito, who was so like acting, he was so hot shit. And here is a lowly kid human who didn't do much, but he was enough to counter you and like strike you with his shield. And he's like, oh, look at you, and he's gloating in his face, and it pisses him off. It pisses Kaito off to the point he uses his like sword to summon some blades, and he impales Mia's brother. But it's like, because he's such a fragile, I can say he's a fragile little bitch, because he wants to pick on those weaker because it makes him feel better about himself. I mean, that's like any other bully, And so he's up there complaining, and the guy's like, "Hey, I told you I needed more subjects. You could have. I told you expressly to leave him alive and capture Mia, but because Mia running away is kind of bad for them. Even though they want to act all high and mighty and stuff, even they're scared that Mia might escape and inform the guild about what they did. Because if the guild finds out, then the Elven Queendom's going to find out, and they're going to be in big trouble. Because for one, he's kicked out of the knights, and the proper knights will show up and deal with him." We also find out later on the sword he has, was it Grandios? He stole that apparently. So I guess he was planning on trying, like, I guess his goal was, I'm gonna go out there, find a way to go past my limit and become stronger, and I'm gonna come back and prove all of them wrong. Like, what are you gonna do? Show like, oh, I'm wielding a sword with magnificent skill. Look how powerful I am. No one can doubt my skills, so they would have no choice but to bring me into the knights. Or were you going to stay running forever with that sword? Because I guess he thought like at least the queendom doesn't know where he is, but this would have gave them a starting off point. So, and just once again, wants to act hot shit like he's so great, but then like here he is cowering in his boots to the knights. Because I did think it was interesting, like if you do pay attention to the opening, the knights are like, you see them a little bit in the opening, and they're in a different section. Like, even though like they're right next to each other, the dark elf who's kind of like Victor Frankenstein, and then Kaito, like they're all like back to back like shots in the opening. But like the fact is they're not together kind of shows, like, my immediate thought was like, oh, are they going to show up after something happens to Kaito, which could be a possibility. I'll get to that later. But yeah, like I said, all that bravado, and you're just nothing and nobody, you know? And that's all you're doing. In fact, Mia calls him out for being a bully, but it turns out that triggers something because he's always been relegated to a bully. He's like, oh, here he is picking on people. It's like, oh, I heard he hit his limit. Oh, he got kicked out of the night. And it's just like, he's just so petty and terrible, and he tries to kill Mia, but luckily she got away. And this is where Light's reading of her memories end, and it's just like, yep. I was just hoping, I was like, please have enough time in this episode to get back, but it seems like we won't get that fully until next episode, but at least Light showed up, especially to save Mia's brother, because he was still hanging on, because the scientist slash Dr. Elf ended up like healing him enough to like take him back to experiment on him. And then Light just pops up out of nowhere. It's like, to be fair, they can just teleport in and out of the dungeon, like, well, because it's like, yeah, they didn't even fly in. Like, because I thought he'd have to. Well, I wonder, does he have it set up that he could? I wonder, does his teleportation work like video game logic, where as long as it's somewhere you've been before, you can immediately teleport there, or did they like secretly fly there? I mean, for them to pop up out of nowhere means they kind of potentially teleported there or something versus flew there. But I mean, maybe they did, but Kaido was completely unaware of them, so I guess maybe they flew so fast and landed that he didn't have a chance, because Gold and Nemamu ended up getting Mia's brother before they could even notice. So it might even not be flight or teleportation, maybe it's a combination of two, and just like super speed on their part. Either way, they show up, and I was like, oh yeah, please embarrass this asshole. Because they're shaking in their boots, like, oh my god, since they came here, that must mean the guild knows. And Light's like, oh no, I didn't tell the guild. I want a piece of you myself. Like, I'm going to basically make you feel everything the others did. And it was touching how he ends up closing the other two's eyes. And for him, he's just like, if the world was different, he's like, maybe we could have all been friends. And it's like him imagining hanging out with this party with his siblings, you know, and it's just like, this world is cruel, you know, it's like they didn't deserve this. It's like, these are just some human kids, and, you know, knowing that they were willing to put their lives on the line for Mia, because that's what this group was all for. This group came together for the sole purpose of being able to get Mia into that academy and wanting that dream to live on, her to live on. Her brother and her friends were willing to sacrifice themselves, you know. And obviously Light knows firsthand the cruelty of, you know, the discrimination against humans as being seen as less than. So to be a human, to put Kaito in his place too, like, that means even more so to him. And it's just like, this is just an example of, you know, these are going to be the deciding factors on whether or not Light decides to burn this world, or whether he feels it is worth saving. There are good people in it, like this group of kids he met, but then he meets pieces of shit like Kaido, who give in to the societal hallmarks of what this world is, and that humans are on the lower tier and they can be sacrificed and done what with. But even they cower towards the guild. But once again, that's more so about the queendom finding out about what they did. So Light fights Kaito on its own and easily deflects him. It's just like, I think that's the beautiful thing of being like an overpowered mage, where it's like, oh, magic is my forte, but I could deuce it up with you on the physical lane as well. It's just an interesting timing too, because I'm also watching the Banished Court Magician aims to become the strongest, and he's also a melee fighter despite being a mage. In fact, he implements his magic into like him being a magical fighter. So it's just I'm always fascinated with like the incorporation of magic into like, I don't know, because it just seems like, yeah, all your stats are towards one thing, but then it's like, well, when you're as broken as his character is, I'm referencing Light, then it kind of makes sense why your power is so overwhelming that even though magic's your forte, you're just as strong power wise. Because let's also not forget, Jack is also training him too, because Jack was training him in like close quarter combat as well. So because it's like, we don't want you, in case there's ever a situation where you can't rely on your magic, you need to have something that can back you up. So it's like, right, so he is a mage first and foremost. And even Nemumu calls him, what was it, like the unlimited card mage. It's kind of like very befitting name for who he is, because Kaido being blocked at every point, like I even love like getting that thrust into his stomach and just kind of like getting him like falling to his knees, coughing up, and it's like, yeah, no, get up. Like, is that all you've got? Like, that's kind of disappointing. It's like, I really want to, like, just like Kaido ended up reveling in what he did and what he's continued to do. Like, Light's like, oh, like I said, I'm gonna get you back for everything you did to them, and I'm gonna pay it back to you tenfold. I'm gonna do it to you. So it's kind of a disappointment that that's all you've got. Then he tries to use his Grayos to like fire like those blades, and he's kind of almost like an avatar where each one is attributed to a different element. But it doesn't matter, because Light can dodge them easily. Even getting snuck up on behind from in midair still blocked the attack. And then he tries to attack again, and Light summons ice swords to like block every one of his attacks. Even when they try to get close, he has them circle around him like a storm, like a shield. And all Kaido can do is like, oh, you tricked me, you're actually a fighter, but you claim to be a mage. It's like, well, he just proved to you that he's a mage too. And he's not even pulling out the big spells, because he probably wants to, humiliate you tremendously. Because now it's like, yeah, like not only were you beaten by a human, you're being heavily outclassed by a human. You have a legendary weapon like this, and it still means, well, I guess because it's like, it means nothing in your hands. Which I almost wonder, will Light end up taking the sword later on and kind of adding it to his collection of weapons? Maybe he ends up giving it to one of his people. Or maybe he just uses it himself. I don't know. I'm curious. I'd almost want him to break it, just to shatter like Kaido's confidence even more. But either way, the conversation comes up about him being specifically a sub-Mastero. He had brought it up previously about being a Mastero. At least he's like from the bloodline of a Mastero. And obviously this is like, hearing that word was like, yo, like what is that? He's like, oh, you don't know what it is? He's like, I'm from a lineage of a Mastero, so that makes me a sub-Mastero. I was like, oh. So it doesn't seem like a sub-Mastero is like a person who hasn't awakened as a Mastero yet, because that conversation never came up in episode 1 about Light. They were just specifically saying Maestro. So I guess if you are a descendant of a Maestro, you become a sub-Maestro, so it's kind of like second tier. But the fact is, they saying Light is one, just a straight up Maestro, makes me go, oh, he must be like the first in his bloodline. I'd assume that's how that works, maybe not, but I feel like that term would have come up more if that was the case for Light. Because they just was like, oh, he isn't a maestro at all. So, and the fact is, that like I said, there's now this subcategory of sub-maestro. Like, if that's a thing that exists, and if it's like, oh, if it's in your bloodline, then they probably would have kept him alive. But maybe they don't need a sub-maestro. Maybe they just need a maestro. But that never, like I said, that dialogue never came up in episode 1, so I think Kaido's trying to make himself seem better than what he is, because it's like, yes, it's something that could be important, but obviously it's not important enough for you to not be able to get into the nights, because I guess it just means you have the potential to awaken to so much more, but until you do, you're still worth, because I guess there's just being a sub maestro, there's just as much of a possibility of you never awakening to what could be your true potential. And even then, who's to say a sub maestro could ever go as far as a maestro? Like, I mean, we look at Light, level 9,999 as he is now. Like, who's to say, like, as a sub maestro, Kaido's limit won't be like 3,333. So it's not even half, like a third, you know? So who's to say? So I'm interested to find out what that dialogue means, kind of breaking that down a little bit more. This obviously ended up being an interesting clue for Light to find out more about, you know, what a maestro is and why he was, you know, being targeted. But also, next episode is the full get back. He's going to kill all of them. Home dude's probably got to die too. I am curious because we still don't know. Like, there's those people in the back, so they've got to be servants as well, force as well. So we probably get some reveals of, like, because they still haven't interacted. They've just been carrying stuff. We haven't even seen them. They've been faceless. So that might be a reveal as well, of like maybe setting them free once these two are dead. But as I touched on earlier, the Queendom will probably find out about this and come investigate. And despite him being kind of not part of the Knights, it'll probably be a misconstrued situation of, hey, they were attacked and killed. Either the scientist dude will be, because the fact is where he is in the opening kind of seems like he might end up going back to his lab. He might be the one that gets away and Kaito's the one that dies. But it could also be like, Light lets him live on purpose. Maybe, maybe not. But I get the feeling like he will probably be the one to get away, and Kaido will be able to be the one that be the only one that dies, sadly. But I just get the feeling like the situation is going to make it seem like Light's the bad guy, and the Queendom's going to come after him, thinking like, oh, unprovoked, he's some monster that attacked these innocent people. I could definitely see the narrative being spun that way. Now, whether that's the Queendom doing that because him being an atrocious monster that he is will look badly upon them, so they're going to spin the narrative publicly like that, or, like I said, they will be purposely misconstrued about the situation and used to come after him. We'll ultimately have to wait to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.